Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast, episode 104 for Tuesday, the 4th of January 2022. I'm your host, Mark Webb, Gamertag, Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby360G, and joining me on this very fine evening is...
Happy New Year's, whatever, Nick Foltz.
And upon your return, I will gift you a beautiful flower. It is Sensei Switch.
This is our first podcast of 2022. My goodness, 2021 is gone in the blink of an eye. I can't believe it.
Thank God.
Well, what was even more scary is it got to Friday, which was New Year's Eve. I didn't realise it was New Year's Eve until the afternoon. Mrs. was because my missus was talking. I was playing some Sea of Thieves with Frosty and my missus, and Frosty was saying, "Yeah, I'm going out tonight. It's for New Year's." I was like, "It's New Year's, is it? Oh my goodness, days are just disappearing." Yeah, and as you can imagine, I did fuck all on New Year's. I just sat, played Final Fantasy. That was it. So I am so cool these days, Did watch some London fireworks, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, did everyone start their fireworks like way too early up your end? Because down here, the fireworks started going off about 11 o'clock at night. And went all the way through till about 12:30, 1:15.
Yeah. People doing fireworks all evening. You could hear them going off. Yeah.
They were doing it outside my house about bloody 7 o'clock. I heard, so I could see like a big park thing. I think they were like the kids setting them off at like 7.
Okay.
I mean, they're setting them off for the kids.
Yeah.
Outside playing Harry Potter, Duel and Wars, or whatever they're doing.
Harry Potter, what a rotter.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, Patreon week. So first things first is I need to say Happy New Year to all our Patreons. Without you, there wouldn't be a show this week. You are all super duper awesome. So I'm just going to say thank you to you all individually. So Wes, Phil, John, Sean, Hogarth, John, another John, Ryan, Strokey, Jason, Paul, David, our very own Nicky Wilson, Nessie, Sly, Craig, Matthew, Dazpoz, Illmatic, Leon, D-Twin, Dodo, Eric, Ben, Robin, Darkest Frost, and Edwin. Thank you all very, very much for supporting the show, and long may it continue throughout 2022. Thank you very much to all the patrons. You are all super awesome. Cool. Okay, so I need to get this out of the way, and I need to apologise now for everyone that's going to be bored to death for probably the next 15 minutes or so. But I need to talk about it, and I've been dying to talk about it. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker expansion. I know, Darren, you completed it before me, obviously. That's only right that you did. I could not compete.
I didn't hammer it, though, like some people I know that went for it pretty quick.
No, and it was actually, I mean, I actually think it was probably one of the longest expansions that they've done, to be honest. It felt like it just never ended, and and we had 6 new areas for in the expansion, and you don't unlock the last area until until the end of the game, really, and it doesn't actually
pretty much.
The last area doesn't actually take that long to go through, really, whereas the other ones felt very long. But the thing about it was, it didn't feel like filler. It didn't feel like it was dragging, like in some games, which are long, because this is its own game in its own right. Every expansion you can really call its own game, if you will.
Yeah, it's a full game's content. Yeah.
How much is the expansion?
I think I paid like 30 quid for mine.
Yeah, about 40, something like that, somewhere around there, depending whether or not you get the collector's edition or not.
So when you get that, does that give you like all previous expansions and stuff as well, or if you like?
No.
For me, was thinking of starting from the beginning. Do you have to buy all of them together?
Well, you can play the first original game and the first expansion, Heaven's Ward, for free.
Well, you can't. Well, you can't now.
Not at the moment, because of obviously mass server capacities going on. But you can get bundles that include all of the expansions and such.
Yeah.
But I'd say if you're going to test it out, I would start with the free trial, just from the main fact
I'm going to do that.
You might not be into it.
To see if I got into it, how many, because if you've been paying for this over so many years and all the expansions, am I going to like maybe get invested in like a 300 quid game?
No, definitely not. I mean, the thing is, and Darren is right. They usually, when they bring out a new expansion, like they have with Endwalker, they usually do a bundle with everything. But as I say, you can pick up the base game for nothing, or you can't at the moment because the game is at the minute it's a victim of its own popularity. So they're having a lot of server congestion issues. They have actually got a lot better the last week or so, I've noticed. A hell of a lot better, actually. But the main reason for that is they're not allowing any new subscriptions. They're not selling the game to anyone new again until until they get it sorted. So you're going to be waiting a little while if you haven't already got a character on a server or anything. Because, if you've already got a character on a server, Darren, I imagine you can just reactivate your subscription and carry on, right? It's just for new people. You're a bit screwed, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I've been playing it since 2013. So has Darren. The game originally actually came out in 2011. 1.0. I actually sat and watched the story of the original game today because I've never sat and watched it. I didn't even know really what happened in the original version of Final Fantasy XIV, and I never played it because I remember when it came out, it got universally panned. But it was I mean, I'm not going to go on about it now, but all I want to say is it's quite interesting how they actually made the story end in 1.0 with the calamity and the servers all shutting down, and then it all coming back again in 2013. And it was just quite surprising to me how many characters and how much music and has carried over into this version.
Well, yeah, because they didn't scrap anything that happened in 1.0. It's all included as like the historic lore of the game. It's not like they completely wiped it and began anew.
Yeah.
They literally just restructured it, and then the genius of being able to fit the story that was already there into it. Like, have you noticed how the expansions have gone? The way the story has grown slowly but surely. It's like an onion with like so many different layers to it.
Yeah.
And every single layer is meaningful. And actually has a purpose within the storytelling and the structure.
Yeah, but also what I liked about this expansion in particular is that, I've got quite a bad memory. So I've been playing this game for 8 years. A lot of stuff has happened, but a lot of it, you kind of forget just with the passage of time. And it did a really good job, I felt, of reminding you of certain story elements that happened early on in the game. Like they talk about certain character dying, and near the beginning of the first well, not the expansion, just kind of the original version of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, and some other bits and pieces, places and characters and stuff. I think they did a really good job of that, to be honest, just kind of reminding you. But I always find, because I'm not super hardcore on Final Fantasy XIV, I find myself I'm a bit of a filthy casual, really, because I usually just bang out the story, maybe stick around and do some raids and stuff, and then I'll cancel my sub for a while, and then come back when there's more story stuff and that. So I always find when I'm playing it and I'm in a mode where I'm really into the game, I'm always discovering new things. So, like, one of the things that I only discovered a couple of days ago, and you've probably known about this for ages, Darren, is you can actually do New Game Plus. And I don't know how long it's been in the game.
It hasn't been in there like a long time, but there is an option to be able to do that now. Yeah.
Yeah, and but the only reason I found that is because one of our clan members was like, "Oh, because I was on about wanting to dye my clothes or whatever." He said, "Oh, I think the quest is here, and it's in one of the original areas where the Waking Sands is, and there was a quest icon there." I was like, "Oh, what's this quest?" And it told you about the New Game Plus. I was like,
the woman on the woman on the seat, just outside in the little square near the statue. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. But yeah, so I mean, one of those. I mean, really into Final Fantasy 14 again in a minute, and you know, and the last two expansions in particular have been really, really good. I mean, it's had what? I had Heaven's Ward, you had Stormblood. What was the last one called?
Shadowbringers.
Shadow. Yes, because I always called it Shadow Burgers. And then we had Endwalker. So you know, so 4 expansions, and 3 out of the 4 have been amazing in my opinion. Stormblood, I thought was good, but it kind of feels like that's kind of the lull period in the game for me, to be honest.
The only reason that I dislike Stormblood is it wasn't necessarily the expansion itself. The expansion itself I thought was fine. It was the patch content.
Right.
It was the first patch where they gave us less dungeons each patch, and also they sort of like screwed up the relic weapon, which was my favourite end game content.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty much why it's sort of like the worst expansion in my opinion.
Yeah, but this expansion's amazing, and the thing I love about it is, one, this is probably, I mean, you could forgive me for thinking that Hideo Kojima had a part in this because there's so many fucking cutscenes in this. You know, so if you're not into reading or listening to a lot of story stuff, then this isn't the game for you, because it's a really strange MMO, really. Like, you could take away the MMO portion of this game and it would just make an amazing single player RPG, in my opinion.
The way that it was structured. I mean, you can even do that now with Shadowbringers and obviously the latest expansion. You can do all the dungeons with AI.
Yeah, you can.
You don't have to queue up and go and with other players. And sometimes doing them with AI is interesting because certain characters will comment on certain things happening within the dungeons.
That's cool.
To give a little bit more exposition to what's actually going on.
Yeah. That, I mean, I haven't experienced that. I need to do it, but I don't know about you, Dan, but what's sort of fun with this is because, you know, this story has been going on for a decade, you know, from it started in 1.0, and this kind of overarching story has now properly ended. They just did. I feel that they just did a really good job of tying things up. I mean, that ending,
fantastic. Like they even tie up subplots that are only hinted at or briefly mentioned and give them even more exposition as to what happened. I will say, just the dragon people and Omega's planet where he came from and his race. It's all dealt with in this expansion, and like they are bits of previous bits of the story.
Yeah, they are, man, and it's just. You know, and you know, it was really funny because when I finished the game, I wouldn't stop messaging you on WhatsApp. I was like, oh my god, you know, and it was just like, you know, a game is good when you sit there and you do, because the end credits are almost an hour long, so long. But I just sat there, just in awe the whole time, just like, oh my god, I can't believe what's happened. Oh my god, this music's awesome, and then. Some stuff happens after the credits as well, which is really cool, which kind of sets things up for the future a little bit, and some of the stuff that's happening. I don't want to do any spoilers for people that might be playing it through the 1 or 2 people. But you know, this expansion's just sucked me back into the world big time. I mean, I'm going back, and I'm just kind of like, it's made me watch, the recap story of 1.0. I started off doing a recap of just the current game because there's a lot of stuff that I've forgotten. And another thing that's drawn me back in big time as well is the Free Company, which is a guild for people that don't know what that is. The expansion's drawn our Free Company, like a lot of people, back into the game. So it feels very active again, and that community aspect I really enjoy about Final Fantasy, because you'll jump in and you have your chats and stuff, and then I've had a lot of experiences this week where we've had full squads, parties just running dungeons together and raids, and and it's been a lot of fun because it's all well and good doing the queuing, which is what I normally do anyway, but when you're playing with people who are in your Free Company and you're all doing, and you all know each other and you're chatting anyway, it just makes it more fun, if you know what I mean. And it's just really nice just seeing the conversations flowing again, because obviously when there hasn't been any story content for quite a while, people fall off the game. I fall off it. And when because I go through periods where I'll resubscribe again and I'll jump back on just because I fancy playing it, and it just feels a bit lonely at times when like the Free Company's dead and you look at at people's names that haven't logged in for like 3 or 4 months or whatever. You just think, oh man, come on, I really want the game to be alive again. And at the moment it's feeling really alive, like brimming. Like you go back to your home cities and it's just bustling with loads of people. All the areas feel really busy. There's just people doing so many things. Like the fates, etc. Just the game feels alive, and that's what I'm really loving about it at the moment as well. Just that feeling. So yeah, I'm just I'm just absolutely loving it. It is the game, like it's all I've been thinking about. When I've had any gaming time, I'm like, I need to jump back on 14. I need to do the X, Y, and Z or whatever. I mean, even now, I finished the story. I mean, it's still resonating with me big time, but there's still a lot of content that I haven't done. That I really want to crack on with.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing as well is like obviously it probably is you haven't leveled too many different jobs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you had a lot of the cutscenes where certain things were going on and a lot of people were getting together.
Yeah.
They're basically people who run the guilds for the different jobs. So I know them and they know me.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like, you probably didn't recognise the 3 little Lalafell mages that were constantly running around with, like, the bandages across their faces.
No.
They're from the Thermitage Guild in Uldar.
Oh.
And there's, like, quest lines to do with them. I think it's Kokabuki and his brothers.
Oh, okay. I mean, the game, I mean, there is a side quest that pops up at level 85, which gives you a reason to level some other classes up, because there's missions pertaining, or the side quest pertaining to the different classes that you can do in different areas.
Yeah, and they are actually pretty interesting as well. I'm near the end of one of them now, the second one. You complete those to basically be able to dye your artifact here.
Yeah, and that's what I need to do, because when I was asking about dyeing my outfits, they said I need to do this mission, and no one knew, because they said, oh, it's this person in the, at the beginning area, and I was like, well, no, that's not there. So I went online.
Level 15 quest, I think.
Yeah, so I searched for the quest that I need to do to dye my gear, and it is that level 85 quest line I need to do, because it's that particular gear that I'm wearing that I think looks really cool, that I want to dye some different colours. So yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people who don't necessarily appear in the expansion in a big way actually all have their own separate storylines for the different role jobs.
Yeah.
So each one takes place in a different city-state because obviously something happens in the game where all hell's breaking loose all over the map.
Yeah.
Basically, and this deals with what those sort of areas are dealing with at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mental. I mean, it's just, it still amazes me now that, this MMO started off so bad and they could have just canned it. And there's a really good documentary on YouTube by NoClip, and NoClip do some really amazing documentaries. So if you're just partially even interested in, just in gaming, really, it's a really good documentary to watch because it goes through, why it flopped initially, and then the work that went into rebuilding the game, and it's now the most popular MMO in the world, which is saying something, right? That is something to behold, especially since it's got a monthly fee, and that's kind of frowned upon these days, with people wanting everything for free. It's like £8 a month or whatever, and it's got and they added another 1 million subscribers just before this expansion launch. So it is super popular. So for me, I've played a lot of MMOs, and this is by far the best MMO I have ever played, without a doubt. And even going further than that, story-wise, it's the best RPG I've played, in my opinion, as well.
Story. I can't. Yeah. There's just so much of it, and it's all meaningful.
Yeah, 100%.
Like even some of the smaller things, like the smaller story beats, they all sort of like come into their own later on, or add to the lore of the world itself.
Yeah,
make 100%. It far more interesting.
Yeah.
And there are also, even like now the story's wrapped up, a certain character at one point near the end of the game starts talking about other areas and sort of saying, "Oh, you haven't visited these parts of the world yet, have you? Do you even know what's going on there?" Like,
I got
wink, wink,
excited
nudge,
by
nudge.
that.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Because
the only downside is, after what we've just been through, I don't think we're going to have to deal with any threat that ever measures that.
Yeah.
How are they going to manage to sort of like balance our character out, per se?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's interesting because if you look, because I've been looking at the map online of the world, and there's still a lot that's kind of covered up. That makes sense.
Yeah, you only pretty much go from the middle to sort of like the west and southwest of the map.
Yeah.
So it's like Middle Earth, like that's a massive map. But obviously the whole of Lord of the Rings stuff only takes place in a small part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been wanting to get a map to frame and put on my wall, but I've not been able to find one at all. So I've been scouring the internet just trying to find a freaking map I could even just print out or something.
Oh no, there are about. I did link you some that you can buy.
Yeah, I found some, but they're all different. Like some parts uncovered, some don't. I think I
actually got a map in one of the collector's editions. Actually, got a fold-out map. It wasn't a cloth map, unfortunately.
No, it's not like Skyrim then, cloth maps. But yeah, man. And I know, like most people are thinking, "Oh, for fuck's sake, stop talking about this game all the time." But it is that good. It really, really is. And for anyone who obviously loves the Final Fantasy franchise, obviously it is a big benefit, because they, throughout the game itself, they do a lot of nods to older games in the franchise, like dungeons are related to some of the games and characters, and but not even with Final Fantasy games, right? Because I had that Nier Automata link in as well with some of the raids and stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of odd and strange.
It was, but it was done quite well, to be honest. But they add, like characters and music and stuff like that from other games, which is cool. But even if you're not into Final Fantasy or whatever, if you just like a good MMO, I would say check it out. It always hits the top lists of MMOs to play.
It's because of the story. Like it is most lauded for the story, and a lot of people usually like, oh, the 2.0 story isn't great, blah blah blah. And I was like, I loved it.
I loved it as well.
Like, there's not really been a part of the story I didn't really like too much. Maybe some of the political stuff in the Stormblood patches did go on a little bit, but it's still world building, and that all pays off.
Yeah. 100%,
eventually.
100%, yeah, because it gives you an incentive to play more. You know, you understand the world more. You know what's going on. So,
I mean, there's a lot of different political themes. There's a lot of different life messages and all sorts of things in there. But they're all kind of left up to your own interpretation of them, and they're all confined in the world. It's not like they're beating you over the head with like a political opinion or something like that.
I mean, the theme in Endwalker, you know, with some of the story beats of, you know, people not wanting to be alive. I don't want to say any more on that, but that resonated with me big time. I was like, yeah, I get it. I do get it. You know, it was like this. It was really, I found it so interesting. You know, some of these beats on the story, I was like, I understand this. This is insane. You know, but yeah, I mean, I've been banging on about it for over 20 minutes already, but you know, it is. I'm loving the world at the minute. I'm even reading like some of the Final Fantasy 14 books I've had for ages and never even opened. Just wanting to understand just more about the world and characters and stuff like that as well. And it's just
they've got such a dedicated team, like at Square for the actual game itself. When it comes to like the artists, the designers, the people localizing, the people who deal with the different lore and everything, it's just like such a happy family. It seems, and they all really work together. Obviously, Soken with the music. The music in this expansion was phenomenal.
Oh my god, absolutely stunning! Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. I mean, it's even things like when you're running around the different zones, and you just stand there like, wow, this music just so good. It's amazing. I mean, like literally. I mean, I've got a Google Home in my kitchen, and we always listen to music while we're having dinner and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And all week it's been Final Fantasy Endwalker music, like just non-stop. And my missus is like, "That's so good," you know, and she hasn't even got to the content. I've been trying to convince her to resubscribe to the game the last couple of weeks.
She's a good couple of expansions back, though, isn't she?
Yeah, so she doesn't need to buy any expansions. She just needs to resubscribe.
Fair enough.
You know, because I think she needs to start Stormblood, or she's partway. Oh yeah, so she said to me she's partway through Stormblood and she's fine. She just didn't really like it. You know, but I said I'd help her with some dungeons and stuff, but she's too hooked on bloody Sea of Thieves to play anything else at the moment. So
I think the hardest thing to do is just let people go into it themselves. If you push people into playing stuff, they don't really.
Yeah.
And there are still some people. I was speaking to someone the other day.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I know someone who's completed the game." But he said they skipped all the cutscenes, like every single thing. And at the end, he was like, "I have no idea what any of that was about, and I don't care." And he was like, he was like, "What are you on about? Like, you're playing a game that's like pretty much lauded for having this incredible story that runs throughout the entire thing, and you just skipped all of it."
That's mental. So we've got Griffey on Twitch at the minute. Hello, Griffey. Thank you for joining us live. And he said that he's been playing some 14, but apparently I haven't helped with the advice, so I need to help you out a little bit. So if we talk when you're not
check
drunk
on your Discord or something.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a dedicated Final Fantasy channel on the Discord as well, so make use of that. You know,
I do have to remember to keep looking at that. I do forget a lot.
Yeah, so you know, if there's any advice you want, then just ask in there. And if you're on our server Phoenix, then you can join the free company. So yeah, do it, man, do it. Is there anything else you want to say on it, Darren? Because we've been kicking on about this for nearly half an hour. I mean, we could just do a bloody dedicated
an entire episode on it.
Oh, easy. I mean,
there are
Griffey's
podcasts that will talk about it for hours and hours and hours, basically.
100%,
but
100%.
I will say this has been probably the most emotionally attached to any game in my lifetime.
Yeah, same. 100%.
Like,
man.
no game has actually affected me quite like this has for at least the last 2 expansions.
Yeah.
Because it does such a brilliant way of actually treating you as an actual character in the world as well. And I don't know whether you noticed, there was a few moments in the game where people almost make like a meta reference as like, has the journey been worthwhile? Have you found fulfillment? Have you enjoyed it? This has been a fantastic tale full of twists and things, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. No, I picked up on that straight
but it's
away.
All completely in character and stuff as well.
Yeah, it's really, really
like
good.
How they actually managed to weave back an entire story beat with something we thought we dealt with like an expansion or so back, and to have it completely meaningful to what's actually going on and give you so much lore.
Yeah, 100%.
When you go into that area and you notice so many different things, like, oh, that's where that comes from, this is where this is coming from, and like, it's almost like too much, like you're being bombarded with like information.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to talk about because I don't want to talk about the ending on the podcast because that's not fair on people.
No, well, the ending's kind of weird anyway.
But it was just you know, some of those beats that you mentioned, especially with that, you know, talking about it being meaningful. So I was just like, yeah, fucking hell. It was just, I was not expecting that at the end at all.
No, the entire expansion, like, this is how, in my opinion, you subvert expectations, because I'm sure everyone had an idea of what we'd be doing in this expansion.
Yeah.
And the idea that everyone had, you dealt with by the time you was at 83, level 83. You still had 7 levels of stuff to go, and you're like only about a third, like a fourth of the way through the story, and you're like, what else is there?
Yeah, I know. I was shocked. I was shocked. Yeah, because, you know, I think it was like the 3rd area or whatever. I was expecting that to be the last area. I was like, oh, okay. What's going on here? Yeah. It was,
bringing back bit players from other patches that have only had like a couple of lines of dialogue, and they become full-fledged characters in the narrative.
Yeah.
This time round.
So good. So good. Oh, loved it. Right, shall we move on to the rest of the podcast?
Yeah, might as well. Everyone, a big cheer goes up from the crowd.
While you were talking, I was looking. Obviously, when they start letting people play this free to play again, or new characters, like the first expansion, Heaven Sword, is free.
Yeah.
And if you buy Endwalker either versions, like the basic one, at least on PlayStation 4 and Steam, you do get the previous 2 expansions.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good.
So you get the entire lot. Yeah.
You get Shadowbringers and Stormblood as part of this Endwalker expansion.
Oh, that's good.
So you will have, you'll have access to like literally the entire 8 to 10 years of content that the game's had.
Fuck me.
But I will say, if you're playing it, don't rush through the story. Don't feel like you need to rush through it, because like this MMO isn't made for you to, like, you're not really going to miss out if you don't log in every day or you don't log in every week or month. Like, you can pick it up, put it down, come back to it. That was one of the main sort of like decrees that the game's director and producer actually wanted with the game. He didn't want to make the game feel like a job.
Yeah, a bit like World of Warcraft.
A bit like Destiny as well. It's like you don't keep up with everyone else. You can't even do any of the bloody story or missions with it.
I mean, just put it this way, right? I'm actually quite casual on the game. I've pretty much gone the last 8 years literally just doing the story stuff, maybe doing some extra stuff
for a patch.
You know, and then I might get some extra gear if I feel like I can be bothered. But I've literally, a new patch comes out, I can do everything. Yeah, and it's not really been difficult or doing the dungeons or anything, because they're done in a quite a good way. Because I think about World of Warcraft, you're kind of expected to have all the best high-end gear, blah blah blah. In Final Fantasy 14, for the main story stuff, you don't need that. I mean, there is that aspect if you want to do.
No, it's just the harder raids and the harder content is there for people who want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's literally just optional. It's not like you don't miss out on stuff. I mean, this is why we did end up with the normal versions of raids, because originally the first raid that launched in 2.0 was the Binding Call of Bahamut, which deals with the fallout of the release trailer of the fall of Dalamud. And a lot of people were kind of annoyed because it was like quite difficult content unless you got people that knew what they were doing to actually get through it. So, and because it actually merged proper story stuff into it, and obviously it deals with some of the stuff with like Louis Soir and Bahamut as well. That's why they ended up adding like a normal version of raids and then like a harder version of raids that drop much better stuff.
Yeah.
So that way everyone can enjoy all of the content that's available.
Yeah, and one aspect of this MMO as well that I think people don't really talk about in my eyes is you can just switch classes on the fly. Like you think of other MMOs like World of Warcraft or whatever, you need to make a new character and dedicate,
Well, there is,
class.
I think there's a new version of Warcraft. Is it Warcraft Ascension, which actually allows you to switch classes now whenever you want with like these certain times and stuff. I'll just add that. But yeah, most others, you are locked into a single class, and sometimes you might start and be like, you know what, I don't really like this class. I mean, you didn't start off as a machinist because machinist wasn't added until Heavensward.
Yeah, I mean, I started off as a tank. I started off as a warrior,
gladiator, wasn't it?
Gladiator, then paladin. And I didn't like tanking in the end. So I was like, right, what other class can I do? But I could literally just, for the quest, because you need to go to the specific quest giver initially, but then after you've done that, you just literally switch weapon and you change your class. Yeah.
I will say, if anyone's new to MMOs and you don't want the pressure, choose a DPS class, because obviously the main pressures are on the tank for keeping all of the aggro and keeping the mobs off everyone else, and the healer for keeping everyone healed up.
Yep.
Like they're probably the two most stressful roles you can actually have.
Yeah. And I recommend the Bard. You start off as an archer because you can kind of hang back. Just ping arrows at bitches. Ping, ping.
Or have you seen Summoner now?
No.
Have you not seen what Summoners are able to do right at the end now?
Oh, God, no.
you can actually properly summon in summons to actually hit enemies and stuff. It just looks awesome.
Oh, I might have to try that class now.
Yeah, when big punts and things like that are going on, you always hear people in the chat going, shrink your summons down, we can't see shit at all. You know what I mean? Like, with all these summons turning up and like blocking the view and smashing and running off sort of a thing.
Yeah, that's so cool. So just on a final note, Mark's Gaming Den's YouTube channel has been popping some videos up this week. So if you do want to have some spoilers, I've put some videos of some of the
spoilers.
Some spoilers, so you can see the last few dungeons, watching me die a few times in those dungeons. And I've got the full end of the game with all the end credits and the everything that's past the credits as well, the post-credit scenes as well on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. So yeah, it's all there for spoilerific blowout time. Cool.
Like if they thought they had problems recently with stuff, because obviously you was talking about the lore books, because obviously the lore books are very popular. The lore books are also known for infamously selling out within minutes of going on sale.
Yeah.
with all the extra players and people now playing the game and getting into everything, can you imagine the hell on their websites when they put up pre-orders for, say, like the soundtrack coming up and like the art book or like another lore book or maybe even a statue? Because I've got an idea of what they've done. Certain statues for the game. I own the Odin one.
Yeah.
I missed out on like the Shiva. I didn't bother with the Ultima one.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling what one of them might be, and I will definitely want that if that's the case. But I've got a feeling that's going to be really hard to get hold of. All I'll say is it's the second trial boss.
Yeah.
If they make that as a figurine, I want that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm not bothered about figurines and that, but I like to have the encyclopedias because it gives a lot of info on the world and the characters and the enemies, etc., etc. It's just a really nice reference and just a good read every now and again.
They are meaty as well.
Yeah, they are.
Proper books.
Yeah. That's it, mate.
But yeah, onwards. Right, yeah, we've
onwards and
upwards. For another 5 minutes, so I have to wrap it up.
Yeah, so on that note, let's end the show. Bye. No, seriously. That's the end of the free portion of the show. So we're gonna. So the rest of the show is for the Patreons.
Like you fuckers.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to the rest of the show, then join the Patreon. Make it your New Year's resolution. It's a really good one. It's only cost you £5 a month. Head over to patreon.com/360gamercast, and from there you can sign up to the show. You get your own RSS feed you can put on to any podcast app apart from Spotify, and you can and then you can just download it. Just downloads automatically and you can listen. Or if you don't want to pay for the Patreon and you want to listen to the whole show, then the only other way to do that is to listen live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Webby360G. There you can listen to the whole show live and join in on the chat. And if you've got Amazon Prime, just subscribe there with your free Amazon Prime doodah. So that's another way of doing it. Cool. So on that note, we're going to go on with the rest of the show.